Know when to hold 'em. Know when to hold 'em. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. Well, hello there. Hope you enjoyed my little ditty. We got a good workout coming up. It don't involve cards. That's coming down the pike, though. Watch out for that. February 6th, 2021, on this day, Aaron Burr, 3rd U.S. Vice President, born. Let's get this going right. Enough of this foolishness. I'm here to work out. Time for me to change hats, literally and figuratively. So we got Babe Ruth born today, February 6, 2021. I don't know how old he would have been. Aaron Burr, 3rd U.S. Vice President. A guy named Ronald Reagan, born on this day, as was someone very, very similar, Bob Marley. All right, so we're going to get our weekend workout underway, and this is going to supplement what we do at the gym. And I'm going to go through these exercises, and then we're going to go through a warm-up, and then I'm going to go through a round of each. And I'll show you a little bit more about the structure, but I do have it written down. And if you want to pause it at about the minute, about 100 seconds in, minute 40, we got this going on, which hopefully you might be able to read that. I don't know, it looks different now, but anyway, 3 exercises on each circuit. We're going to do each circuit for 15 minutes. We're going to aim for 15 reps on every set of every exercise. Once 15 minutes are up, we're going to switch from that first circuit of 3 to the next circuit of 3. We're going to go through those for 15 minutes with 15 reps each set for each exercise. And then we're going to break and we're going to have a good weekend. All right, so our first, and both circuits are going to follow this pattern. We're going to follow upper body, lower body, and core, and you just cycle through it. Our first exercise circuit is going to consist of push-ups, reverse lunges, and then push-up position shoulder touches. So those are 2 exercises where you're in that push-up position. Theoretically, it depends on where you're at. Like I said, I'll go through modifications on each exercise. So we've got 18 different variations. So we have we got 2 exercises where we're in that push-up position. So be aware of your wrist. If you got issues with that, I'll show you some ways out on that. And then our next circuit of 3 going to consist of rows, squats, and anti-rotation windshield wipers. Now, the reason I acted like such a fool to start off this video is because I'm going to do this with minimal equipment, and I'm going to show you that you can still get a workout in with things that aren't traditionally known as exercises, equipment. And this is a table, but to me today it is a once-in-a-hour lifetime chance opportunity to do some inverted table rows, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. So we're going to use this today in our workout. Like I said, I'll show you the different variations on each of these right now. So our first one, on our first 3, remember we got push-ups. Let me show you what this is going to look like. If you can knock out 15 push-ups with the toe position here, and here's what I've really got used to is using a thick book, or like a telephone book, if you remember those from the bygone era when we had landlines. I still get a telephone book though. You're wanting to touch something with your chest. If you can touch the floor, that's great. That's good range of motion there with the shoulders. Make sure your shoulders are real forward in that socket right there. Make sure they still stay back. But another thing you might not be aware of is how much that neck really, really cranes and flexes forward on that push-up. have a tendency to do it myself, you'll be amazed at how aligned some external object to direct the chest to at the bottom of that push-up will line that neck into the proper position. You know, I might have been conditioned now where that isn't such a problem for me, but I feel confident enough that it is, that I can show you the difference right here and now. So here's one without the yoga block. And here's one with. Let me go through 3 of each. Now, that's your typical push-up. If you want to progress that, and if you saw the difference there, you know, that just shows you what you might be doing. Even if you're not doing it, it's a good habit to get into, and it makes you just feel better because you know you're a definite in range of motion there. There's no vagueness to it. It's definite. You can touch it and go on. You know, there's those little minute milliseconds of time add up. So tap and go, and that really aligns the neck. And if it doesn't, if you don't have that problem, it's not going to get you in any trouble. If you need to scale that back, go here to the quadriceps muscle group. You want that touching the ground. Now, a lot of people refer this to the knee position. I want you to break that anchor point. I want you to really hit the floor with the part just above the knee, that quadriceps muscle group. It's going to protect that knee. I mean, it's not going to be as uncomfortable, and it's going to force those hips into alignment between the shoulders and the knee. And that'll look like this. You always want to breathe in, lowering yourself down, breathe out, pushing yourself away. If you need to progress that this week, since I'm just starting this, just go slow, pace yourself out. You know, we're not really, you know, we're not going explosive just yet. Let's just make sure everything's sound in our joints, and we're going to go for time under tension here. Really feel the muscles working together, and you're going to get a lot of core out of it. So just think of this as a dynamic plank. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. It's when you really move slow is when you really feel where that pressure is going to accumulate. And, you know, in that push-up position around the shoulder area, really, it really manifests itself there. And I can kind of get away from some habits there that I don't typically have a chance to when I do have this opportunity to force myself into do something really slow. So don't be afraid to do that for novelty. If you're prone to doing something really faster, let's say, you know, I know you can progress that one with explosive push-ups, but, you know, that's just too fun. Well, that's not the reason why you don't want to do it, but the reason why you want to kind of do something that you're not prone to doing is because it gives you these insights into things that you just normally wouldn't do or normally wouldn't have because you wouldn't be experiencing it. So let's slow it down this week. That's your progression. Time under tension. Just go slow for 15. Okay, and don't be afraid to deviate within those tiers. You could start off going real slow, and then start speeding up. You know, once you start to fatigue out, and you haven't reached 15, and then let's say you just bit off way much more than you could chew, you could then find yourself on the quadriceps position to finish out a set of 15, and you might go through that again, and that's okay because you're building strength in that first, you know, in that push-up. So, you know, if you do have the capability of doing 5 or 6 before you tire out, start there. But if you don't want to go through that, that's okay too, because really the intent of what we're doing today is to get the heart rate up. You want to spend minimal time between each exercise, okay? So you don't want to have one set just derail you, energy wise. So watch out for that. If you find that you're spending, more than 30 seconds to recoup your energy between exercises, that might not seem like it would happen at the beginning, but you might be surprised at how this stuff can accumulate. Then, scale it down a little bit, scale it down to what we call a regression. So that's your first exercise to start off, that's push-up. You would then do a reverse lunge, okay, and that would look like this. Now, on your reverse lunge, you're stepping back. And then back up. Okay, now let's alternate it. Now this is going to be classified as a hip. I know there's a lot of quad, there's a lot of knee in that one, but if you look at it, we classify these exercises depending on the range of motion of the, the joint that's experiencing the most range of motion. So as opposed to the hip and the knee, watch those two joints here. And I'm slightly more forward, if I could, slightly more forward here. I'm exaggerating now to make myself right, but it's a 50-50 deal. So, I do kind of have that forward angle. If I do, I'll go all the way back to the floor, which is not imperative. Don't worry about touching the floor. Worry about stepping back in a comfortable position. This might be all you can do. That's fine. Start there and then back up. There's a lot to be said about stepping back and going down in height. That's continuous there on your balance. So it's good to kind of challenge yourself on this if you have the tendency to, not step back and go down. I don't know if you experienced very many back alley bum fights, but no, for real, we're getting some hip out of there, and that's good. If you want to progress this, you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say take it slow. No, actually, I'm going to say this. We're familiar with the pistol squat, the single leg squat where that other non-working leg goes in front of us. This is the shrimp squat, but it seems to me like you get more hip out of it, as the name might suggest. Let's get ourselves something about the height that's going to challenge us. And let's just direct our non-working legs knee toward that spot. So it would look like this. Ooh. As you can see, I'm having trouble right there. So I would move to like this chair over here, okay? It's a little bit higher. And I would knock out 15. All right, I don't want to really alternate right there because I'm wanting to knock these out efficiently. I really felt that in the glute. One thing you can do there to really drive home what we're working on is act like there's a pane of glass. And, the front of your foot of your working leg is right in front of that pane of glass. It's flush with it. That knee can't go past that front of that toe. And so you're forced to go back as soon as you descend it. And this is a progression on our alternating reverse lunges. So as you can see, that's a challenge for me. That's where I want to be for 15. I feel good about that. If we need to step it back, get yourself that table. Hold on right here. And use that when you come back up. Now be honest, try to put as much force and work. Try to work that hip as much as you can. But when it starts to feel like it's going awry, use your arm, that hand on that table to help push yourself back up. Over time, you want to lessen how much of your force you're putting in that table to help assist you. It's not going to give you a number. It's not going to be something objective. There's something you're going to have to reference your body and how that feels to gauge, your progress. If you're finding over time that you're not needing as much effort into pushing on that table to get yourself up, then you're getting stronger, you're heading in the right direction. If any of this stuff hurts you, if any of it bothers you, stop doing what you're doing. You should see a doctor before you start programs like this anyway. But just in case something just doesn't feel right, stop what you're doing. You know your body better than anybody. Go see a doctor if you feel like you have to. But that is our hip. And then we're going to go to the push-up position with shoulder touches. They look like this. We're not going to do a push-up here. We're just trying to prevent our torso and hips from rotating as we lift our hand off the ground, touch our opposite shoulder. And we want it to look like this. A size will equal 30. That's going to be a fun time. Have fun with that one. Regression right there. Quadriceps position on the floor. Same thing. Localize all the tension in the abdominals. You want them to be the ones affected by this move the most. You're going to get some other things out of it. You're going to feel other things than what I might mention on this. Again, it's not really cause for concern if it's in the muscle. If it shows up in the joint, by all means, stop. You want to be working your muscles about your joints. But you will, let's say, sometimes people, it just sounds bad. Hey, I'll feel that in the back. Not always. If we're working like a stabilizer muscle group in that low back, sure, you're going to get some fatigue there. You're going to have to notice a difference between tightness and, something that's sore from, maybe the previous workout. Now, there's a difference. There's a wide variance between, there's a lot of different variables we can throw at that particular one if we go to scale it down from the push-up position from the toes. If you're here and you're finding that you're really rotating, go wide stance. Get wide. And that's going to shorten, the space between, your feet and your hands. And it's also going to widen that base of stability too. So two things, it's going to shorten the span lengthwise, and it's going to widen the base of stability. Because the whole goal there is preventing rotation. Okay, if we want to progress that, one, we're going with elbow position. So it'll look like this. Well, this table's getting back. You're having to push into the floor just a little bit as you reach and touch the opposite shoulder, but you're not really rotating. Just enough space to touch the opposite shoulder. Okay, those three for 15 minutes. Just because you're on the first level or a regression on one exercise doesn't mean you follow that same pattern throughout the rest of them. You could be modified position on a push-up, but be able to be on that toe position and do the shoulder position touches. So it's really how you are on that particular move. Okay, so after 15 minutes, give yourself a minute break, and then let's go through the next three for 15 minutes. And we're going to use this table. Use the table at your own caution. All right, so this is a card table. It's pretty old, but but I've done inverted rows on this one before. Here's what they're going to look like. Well, let's go underhand position here. Knocking out 15. Now I wasn't able to get a full arm extension there. I had to really shorten my, had to really tighten my shoulders together back there. That's okay, that's good. Strengthen those rhomboids in between the shoulder blades, that's good. Always want to keep shoulders away from the ears so they're driving down toward the hips, and my hips stay up. We want to keep that straight line between the shoulders and the knees, not breathing out. Breathing in. Like I said, I couldn't go all the way down. That's okay, especially if I had some elbow pain. I do want to keep my elbows kind of soft right there. Like I say, use your own judgment on what you do those on. If you don't feel very confident on anything, by all means don't do it. Take out the back for the day. We live to work out another day. Regression on that. Try to hold here as long as you can. So if you're having trouble reaching the table with the sternum, because that's where you want to be. Otherwise, you're probably here, and you don't want that. You want to be here. Then try to do this one. Keeping the shoulders together for 30 seconds or for however long before you start breaking form. If it's 20 seconds, that's okay. You start there and start trying to lengthen that time. Once you get to 30, then you can start knocking out those reps. Same thing if you're doing reps and you start to fatigue, take it to the hold. If you're at 10, because we're going for 15 here, if you're getting 10, you feel yourself craning at the neck trying to make those numbers, stay here, hold. Let's say you're at 10, hold for 5 seconds. All right, give me that much at least. All right, our second one, lower body squats. You knew it was coming. We hit hips with reverse lunge. Last circuit, let's hit the knee dominant muscle group here with the quads. On our squat, we're descending, flexing at the hips first, and then we're back up. I didn't hit a progression on those rows, did I? Well, what you would do is just like we did on the push-ups, go slow for time. Feel the core and that movement especially, both the movements, both the inverted row and the push-up. If you're going slow, then you'll feel how the core should respond to those joints like the shoulder and the hip. And you want those to be comfortable in their sockets. You know, you don't want that shoulder, you don't want that humeral head driving forward here on your push-ups. You see where my shoulders are right there? That humeral head in that socket real forward like that, not good. So you want to keep them back, and you want to feel them back the whole time in that push-ups. And same thing on the rows. You know, you don't want to feel, you know, your back coming up right here, and then as you pull, it's all arm. No, you want your back involved. Feel those shoulder blades coming together as you flex those elbows. So your progression here, the tempo would just be a little bit more prolonged, and it would be like right here. Something just a little bit slower than your typical pace. And like I say, if it starts to get fatiguing, start going a little bit more fast to make those numbers. Okay, so we're at squats now. Typical bodyweight squat for 15. So usually going to challenge people. Again, not one set's should ever take it out of you. But over time, all this stuff's going to get you winded and get you ready for a good weekend. All right, so we're here. Normal squat, you want to get hip width stance and inside arches aligned with outside shoulders. And then you're going to crease at the hips before the knees And it might just be a split second, what I'm talking about there. What's going to end up is your torso is going to have the same angle as their calves. And then you back up. And see, I kind of shoot my arms forward. That's a compensation, Chris. It is. You know, I'm counterbalancing myself with my arms there. If I want to kind of get away from it, I'm going to do prisoner squats. I swear I didn't mean it, sir. And it is more challenging the more together I have my elbows. Kind of mimicking a front squat. So look to take away, you know, the arm involvement. If you're compensating like I was, have them fixed somewhere. Start to bring the elbows together. Once they're about as close together as you can get them, then start going into your elevator squats. Elevator squats look like this. This is your progression. Let me be consistent here. Here's your regression. You know, if you're compensating, doing your squat, if your knees are coming together, especially you don't want this, no good. You want to keep them out. So they stay over the big and second toe vertically. You know, you want them aligned vertically over the big and second toe. And then laterally, knee relative to your feet. You know, you do want them to kind of stay behind the toes. But, you know, most of our height discrepancies taken up with our femur. So if that knee shoots over the big toe, it's not a hard and fast rule that you're doing it wrong. Try to drive the hips back first. That's going to help you out. It's going to set the angle of your torso. Descend. We're going to activate the anterior tib, and that's going to help your squat too in our warm-up. And we'll talk about that. I want to wrap this up here in the next few. I won't. Your regression on those, or your progression rather, or your regression, tabletop assisted. However much force you need to put into that table to both keep the knees behind the toes, to keep the chest up. You know, you see a lot of this on a squat, especially if people who do it like accordion style, and they think about a squat going straight down instead of kind of hip sliding back. You'll see that a lot. That's for people who need to get used to kind of shifting their weight back on the heels and then squatting. They're not doing that. And it might be because, well, a lot of times in their daily life, we're not really doing that. But two is that we're just so knee dominant. So back. So you want to put as much force in that table as you can to give yourself a good quadricep workout. Keep the chest up, keep the eyes up. 15 of those. Progression on that would be elevator squats. Well, let's say we can do them, you know, we're doing them here and we're comfortable doing them. Let's do our elevator squats this way. All the way down, halfway back up, or 3/4, all the way down again, and then you're back up for one. Okay? Two. 3. All right, and then, you know, because you're kind of getting in, you'll eventually get in 45-ish. It's not twice as much because that second kind of mini squat is just, you know, it's halfway up out of what we call the hole. The hole of your squat is the bottom of your squat. In the bottom of the squat, you know, that femur should be parallel with the ground. We're going for parallel, back up. If you're not getting parallel, don't worry about it. We just want the general mechanics. Sit back. You know, if we need to come back up then, that's fine. That's fine. Going for heart rate, getting the heart rate up without jogging. Lord knows it's too cold to jog today. So yeah, knock out your elevator squats. And then we're going to finish it up with windshield wipers. It's going to look like this. that's the middle ground one. You know, I'm keeping my knees extended. I'm trying to not really touch the floor because once that opposite side of my back starts coming up off the ground, that's kind of rocky terrain, if you will. Don't force that one. If I'm going 10 to 2, that's fine. I'm fine with that. You know, I want to feel up my obliques. I do not want to feel up my back. So back off that one quick, and you might start right here. Here's a regression. You know, I can bring my feet farther away from my chest and make that harder by increments. You know, the farther my knees or my feet go away, I'm starting to really feel my abdominals. But again, I'm not really trying to touch the floor so much as I'm just trying to get my obliques involved and trying to direct that far knee back to its starting spot at 12 o'clock. So I showed you regression there. Progression on that one, you know, range of motion, just increase your range of motion. And let's talk about the general purpose of this exercise routine. We're just trying to get the heart rate up. We're really not going to get too much strength out of 15 reps a set. We're going to get some endurance out of it. We're going to maintain. You know, we're not going to get out of shape with this routine. We're going to, over time, try to get more rounds of each circuit in. But, you know, as far as like increasing our 1 rep max or something like a bench, this won't carry over. So we're trying to jump into that next exercise as quick as we can. So if it's not feeling like it's going to kick your butt right off the bat, give it a few minutes, and it may not be that this one kicks your butt. That's okay, but you got some movement in an organized way. You know, if you want to take your heart rate after this and just see how this might treat you later on down the road, by all means, that would be a good barometer to assess by. Also, just, you know, just make you feel good and move around. So that's the general routine. Let's go through our warm-up. We're looking at, let's go 10 cat and cows. This is borrowed from yoga. I'm not a yogi, but I do try to get a few moves in, and I have done a few classes, but I am by no means a yoga teacher or have very much experience with it. What I will do is approach this from the exercise point of view. So we're in what they call tabletop position, what I call quadruped, and it's our hands below our armpits and knees below our hips. We want to feel our core just a little bit in this, and then we're going to breathe in, directing our gaze upwards and dropping our stomach toward the floor without losing, you know, the abdominals in that, and fully bringing it up into our lumbar. And then we're going to exhale as we round the back into a hump position. So inhale and exhale. We're going to do this 10 times. Take your time with this one. It's good to bring the shoulders together on that cat or cow position. Again, keep them away from the ears. Then you're bringing the shoulders away from each other in the cat position there. All right, so that's our cat-cow. We're then going to activate our glutes in a 30-second bridge hold. I want you to force the heels into the ground. If you want to keep the toes on the ground at the same time, that's fine. If you're having trouble feeling your glutes on this one, push the heels into the ground in a kind of forward diagonal angle there. And we're going to hold for 30. Relax the back of the head against the floor. Squeeze the glutes, because you don't want to be here. You know, it's too much lumbar. You know, you want to be right there. Squeeze the glutes. Don't take any kind of guesswork on where you should be. Squeezing the glutes will bring you into hip extension. Holding for 30 seconds here. you would just hold this for 30, okay? We're trying to activate the butt. Activate the butt muscle group, the glutes. If you sit a lot, your hip flexors are tight. You know the routine. Opposing muscle group, the glutes don't fire. It's one of our biggest muscles in the body, and we've lost a lot of activation on that one. So our lumbar gets involved, and that's not good. So hold that one for 30, and then remember when I was talking about the squat in our routine, about the anterior tib. We're going to hit that one. First, we're going to hit our hip flexors. Let's go 30 seconds here. Squeeze the glutes, or the glute here on your down knee. That'll give you a good hip flexor stretch here. You can kind of increase the angle of your calf there for more intensity, because we're going to stretch this area here right in the front of the top of the thigh, just above the hip, and first quarter of that femur. Bring that heel down, Chris. But we don't want any lumbar there. Don't worry about the belt buckle going forward. We want to keep the glute activated, and then we just hit the other side for 30. This is, I can kind of fast forward through that timed hold stuff. All right, 30 seconds on that hip flexor stretch. And then we're going to go and we're going to activate the anterior tib, and we're also going to stretch the calf. So a lot of times the calf's overactivated. We want to stretch that. But first, we want to stretch that. So I wanted to try to keep minimal equipment. So you can use a belt here. I've got a nylon belt. We're going to stretch the calves. After that, 30 seconds each side, half kneeling stretch. I want you to put a belt or a strap around the bottom of your foot, and I want you to kind of gently pull, have that on the arch of the foot, and then gently pull until you feel stretch right through here. And then 30 seconds on the other side. We're stretching our calves. Then we want to stand up. And stand on our heels with our toes drawn toward our knees. And we're going to laterally walk out on our heels with our arms extended forward from our chest. That was 4. Let's go forward left. That was 3, A total of 10 right, 10 left. So I think I have 7 going right. This is going to make 10 and 10 left. Now my sandals maintained contact with the floor and they were dragging. But I was taking an active step with my foot off the ground. I do want to try to get that. And what you'll do is you'll kind of arc that foot slightly forward, and it'll come back around to where it's going to be parallel with where it started. And what we're doing is we're activating that anterior tib, that sheath of muscle in front of the calf, that I think is really, really responsible for helping you maintain stability in the knee as you go back. That thing's tighter than a bug. Said no one ever. We're activating the anterior tib, but we're really hitting the external hip rotators there. I want you to feel it right there as well. That's good stuff. Kind of a twofer, and I won't charge you extra. So after those lateral walks, I want you to stretch out the chest and the forearm. And a lot of times people have pain here in the elbow. You want to position yourself to where the hand is splayed, the fingers are splayed, and I'm pointing them straight back. They're not up like this, they're pointing behind me. See that shadow on the wall? And then once I have that fixed, I'm going to rotate around it, and all this is going to be relaxed. All this is going to be relaxed. It's going to kind of pull. And I'm holding for half a minute. Same thing on the other side. It's going to open our chest up. And then I want you to get into this ready position. This is going to be this is going to be what we're, we should be in a hip hinge here. Think about if you played basketball yourself on defense. This is a ready position. You got a lot of energy here. You're ready to hit somebody. You're ready to, hit a home run. You're ready to knock someone out. A lot of hip rotation. You're about ready to jump. This is the point of your lowest ascent right before you take a big jump. This is your ready position. So once you get in your ready position, towards stop position, then take the arms away. Keep them in a Y. And then I want you to go W's. And what I mean by W's? See my arm angles? W's. But I'm going to keep my arms in the same angle, just an extension of my torso. I'm going to draw them back. Thinking about my shoulder blades, I want them to draw down and together in this W position. Knock out 10 of those. All right, and then we want to get something to get our heart rate up. Let's jump back and forth. Hey, 15 times. That's the theme of today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15 times. If you don't want to jump off the ground, just go high knees 15. And and I'm talking 15 total. If the asymmetry bothers you, go 14 or 16. Anyway, I told you I'd go through the first round of each circuit with you. The first 3 I show you, I told you I was going to do demos of each. I think that's going to confuse you. I'm just going to show you a round of what each circuit's going to look like. You would just try to do as many of those rounds of each within those 15 minutes. So your first circuit, you've got push-ups, you've got reverse lunges, you've got push-up position shoulder touches. Then you would cycle back to push-ups, reverse lunges, push-up position shoulder touches, push-ups for 15 minutes. Keep that cycle. Remember, you can go in between those variations I showed you within those 15 minutes. You get fatigued on a tougher variation, knock it down. If you want to, if you're gauging your progress on this, remember the number that you did on the harder one and try to increase that over time, which is going to be difficult because you're going to be fatigued. So always be aware of how you feel. We're not trying to conquer the world one day. All right, work it out. And then after 15 minutes up, you got a minute halftime. All right. If you want to download some Lou Holtz motivation speeches, go ahead. Don't get caught watching the paint dry. Shooters from Hooters. Next circuit of 3, we've got inverted rows. Remember, you can hold for 30 or however long if you need to knock it down. And then you go slow for progression. 15. Then we got squats. 15. And we got the windshield wipers. 15 each side. All right. So what I would do is set up my timer, and I've got it set up here for 15 minutes. Well, and then here we go. Remember, I'm just going to do one round. Speed this up. Okay, we're on. Let's knock out 15 push-ups. Oh, where's our blocket? Remember, keep that there to help your neck out. I'm going slow because I'm such a tough guy. Breathing in on the way down. Breathing out on the way up. Pushing yourself away. Breathing in. Breathing out. Oh, I bit off more than I could chew. I'm getting fatigued. I better take it to normal tempo then. Oh, I wiped myself out. We better knock it down to a regression and finish out the set. All right, so we're moving on to the next one. Now, I'm such a tough guy. I think I demoed on my right leg. So I'm going to work my left. I think I did. With my lunges. Whoa! What not to do. So right there you just saw someone be careless. And I am really trying to steady myself out with that forward arm. That's a pretty good challenge, man. I can really feel it right there. That's where I want to feel it. I'm going to keep it at 10 on that one. I will notice that I've only got 12 minutes left. Over time, I feel confident that I'm going to get that one. But right now, I'm going to keep it at 10. Yeah, I would show you. You would do, here's your normal one. And then, of course, your regression with the table. I wanted to knock out 10 there because I do want to try to get better at that shrimp squat. Okay. Push-up position, shoulder touches. 15 aside. Here we go. Whoop. Whew. All right. So, 10 minutes and 30 seconds. I would try to get 3 in. I know that would be a challenge, but that's where I'm at. 15 minutes, you'll find, does not give you a lot of time, especially when you're working in a 3 or 15 rep range. So we'd keep that up for another 10 minutes. All right. And then you'd break a minute, and then we'd go to our next 3. Inverted rows, using the table, squats, and windshield wipers. All right, our minute is up. Here we go. Remember, this is the second circuit. After 15 minutes and your minute rest, you start this circuit for 15 minutes. Alright, now that was the slow version. I bit off more than I can chew. I'm going to go with a regular tempo. And then let's say I got fatigued, I still haven't reached 15, I would knock it down to the regression. And I would hold for till I gave out. And what I mean by giving out is I want to maintain as tight as I can in my shoulder blades. Once they start to drift apart and those shoulders start coming together this way, let's give it up. A clarification on that. I said no one set should knock you out. So, I'm really sweating. I said no one set should knock you out. So don't worry about when you start to give that up. You know, we don't want to work at that state. We want to go to the next exercise as quick as possible. So let's go 5 seconds extra. If you get, let's just go however many seconds you had left. So if you got 5 reps in, you might take a break because you got winded and you know you exhausted yourself. But when you got your breath back, go and hold for 10 seconds. Just make up the 15 with the time. Hold. Okay, squats next. Remember elbows together, interlace the fingers behind the head. I stay forward. Our progression on that one, elevator squats. Four, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I bit off more than I can chew. What do I do, coach? Take it to a regression. Oh. 9, 10, 11. Oh, I'm so winded. What do I do? Let's take it to a regression. Finish that set. 12, 13. Yeah, don't worry about the elevator on the regression. You know, you're doing a regular squat. Yeah. On that regression, don't worry about going parallel or however low you need to go and then coming halfway and then back down and then going up. If you're using a tabletop, 10 normal squats. All right, windshield wipers next. Taking it to a regression. On that one, you know, let's do 15 total there. that's going to take up a lot of time. So and I'll write this in the comments, but do, like I say, if the asymmetry gets you, do 16 total or 14 total. Don't worry about the odd number being consistent with everything being 15. I knocked the shrimp squat, single leg shrimp squat, down to 10 because it was going to take too much time. Any kind of balance, any kind of single leg exercise seems to take a lot of time. So it's real tenuous, a lot of time taken assessing where you are in space. So both these circuits done for 15 minutes, the push-ups, the reverse lunges, the push-up position shoulder touches, 15 minutes, cycle through those, 1 minute rest, then do the next 3 inverted tabletop rows, squats, and windshield wipers. And then after 15 minutes, have yourself a good weekend.